Alright, so I'm going to show you how to make a glitch art in Audacity. So you'll want to take an image that you've downloaded or already got saved somehow, and so you'll want to open it in like a photo editor, and because the extension is like .jpeg or whatever, it doesn't really matter at this point. You just want to like open it and do file, export as, and then save it wherever you're going to save it for this particular edit. Save it as original.bmp, so it's a bitmap file, so it's not encoded or anything, so you can actually mess with it and not just get errors. Doesn't really matter what you name it, I just do that to keep it organized. So you hit export. Normally there's advanced options. Those aren't coming up probably because it's a black and white image. That won't really have any effect on this, but under advanced options, typically there's like a 16-bit, a 32-bit, and a 24-bit one. Those can typically give you mildly different results, but typically they're all pretty much the same. So what I want to do is export it, and then close out of the tab in the photo editor. You're going to want to keep this open if you're going to mess with it more, although it doesn't really need to stay open. Actually, no. Depending on what operating system you're using, you might need to keep a photo editor open, because the Windows Photos app does not actually open these images half the time. It just errors out. So you'll want to open up Audacity now, which typically takes a minute. There we go. And so you'll want to typically try and make the window as wide as possible, because it just makes it easier to work on the photo. So then file, import as raw data. This is important. Import it as raw data. Otherwise it won't import. So then select your original file. So the encoding, set it to ULAW or ALAW. Either one works. I'm not really sure what the differences are between the two, but either one works just fine. The byte order, you can select any of these. It does not really matter. There's probably effects that each of them gives, but I don't really care. So then keep it as mono. You can do it as stereo, but I just lets you work on it more if you keep it in mono. The sample rate you can set to basically anything as long as it's above like 100,000. I sometimes will do 500,000. The higher the sample rate, typically it ends up as a shorter file, or a longer file actually, I believe. You'll want to try and keep the file as short as possible unless you've got a fairly good computer, because exporting it can take a while. But anyway, now that you've got it imported and it looks like this, set the audio output to something other than your headphones, just in case you accidentally press play on it, because you don't want to just hear the noise that this makes. It's kind of unpleasant. But anyway, you do file, export, export audio, and then save it to the folder that you've got everything else in. Unedited, don't mess with it at all, just immediately do like a verification file. Save it as .bmp, don't save it as like .raw or anything. So then under the header option, select raw. Then you'll have to actually put in .bmp. That typically changes it, changing the header. And then the encoding, set that to the same that you set when you import it. So then select save. It'll give you some warnings because it knows it's not going to be audio. And then just like open it. It looks the same. Sometimes you'll see like weird coloration or like a bit of like extra noise being added in. I don't really know what causes that, but it does sometimes. So now that you've done that, you're ready to begin. So avoid like the first like half a second, I'd say. In here is the actual information about the resolution and stuff. Messing with that will corrupt the image. So just select a part of it, any amount, and do anything under the Effect tab or chirp or DTMF tones. Both of those will also cause effects. Typically, this one will give you good effects. I have a preset saved for that works as color and black and white images that usually works out. So it's these settings. You can input them into it if you want. So anyway, just click apply, and now it's changed this bit. So now you export it. Again, same settings as test1.bmp. You can save it as whatever. I just do this to keep it organized, and then save, and then oh yeah, every time that you do this, you're gonna want to, like, once you've got like an effect you actually like, you can like keep this open, but if you don't like the look of this, close it out of this tab, because if you like overwrite the file with the one of the same name, it kind of doesn't change it. In here, even if you like close out of this and then reopen it, it will still look like the previously saved one. I don't know why, it just does. But anyway, so this is what I'd expect to happen from that I selected. So now I will just go into, like, say here. The beginning of this is lower, the end of this is the higher part of the image. So just select part of it, and I find echo will sometimes work, sometimes it'll just corrupt it. I find that 0.6, oops, that this will sometimes give you good effects. It really varies based on all sorts of variables, I guess. Actually, that might not have been a long enough part for that to actually do anything, so let me just repeat. There we go. Okay, so now export audio test2.bmp. And now it's done that, which is not exactly what I'd expect an echo to do. Typically it gives you a kind of a phantom version off to the right, I believe. Didn't for this. Weird effects. I don't totally understand it. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it just does what it wants. A neat thing you can do is select a bit of audio, and then do effect repeat, let's say 2 times. Okay, and export audio. So this will kind of make it mess up and everything above it. So like do this with the top of the file, not the bottom of the file. But oops, I import that as bottom layer. So now it looks like this. I mean, if you like this look at this, go ahead and use it. But I'm not really a fan of it. So what I'll do is I will delete the layer so that it doesn't have the file open. I will go back into Audacity to Command or Control Z, depends on what you're doing, what you're using for an operating system. And then I'll just like do something else, like a click removal will typically give you an interesting kind of like VHS noise sort of thing. So I just use settings like that, press OK. Now that's actually a bit more drastic than it normally is. But anyway, do export audio. So if you didn't like that last one, just overwrite the file by naming it the same thing. It'll give you the same warning about a raw file, and then it'll give you a warning that you're overwriting the file. Just press yes, open it, and now it's done that, which is what a bit more extreme, but what I would expect a click removal to do. I will warn that bitmap files are fairly large, so actually these ones are pretty small, but that's because it's a black and white image. But once you've got something that you like, which may take a while, oh, whoops, that's what I meant to do. Once you've got something that you like, I'll show you. which will probably take me a while because I'm kind of picky about this, but I will pause this and get back to you when I've got something I like. Okay, so something you might notice is that all of these are horizontal. So if you want to do like something like say like this, what you'll have to do is in whatever software you're using to like view or edit the photos, just like rotate it 90 degrees and export it again as a bitmap. Just like name it something, keep it organized, just like rotate.bmp, something like that. And I don't know what that warning was, whatever. So now I've got this, so I'll import this into Audacity now. Again, file import raw data, file import raw data, rotate.bmp, open. And again, you can use different settings from what you used last time, like I will do that and keep the sample rate as default. And so now it's the image but rotated. So looking on this, that's like maybe I don't know, a bit less than halfway up, so I'd go for about here. I'd assume is about where the face is. So I'll do something like that and then select distortion. Will give you an interesting effect. You can use any of these, or yeah, I think you can use any of these. They'll all give different effects, but they're all different but pretty similar. Basically, I'll just make it less. If it was a color photo, it would make the colors a bit more muted. I'm not totally sure what it'll do to a black and white photo. I don't typically do black and white photos, but again, I've been watching Universal Monster movies, so why not? So save this, and now open it here. You can see I was a bit off on that, but there's now a darker line right there. So, well, now that I've got that, I can know that about here would actually be the face. So I'll just select that, and you can get some interesting effects out of this. If you can name that whatever, it doesn't really matter. Then this, I'm not totally sure what the differences are between like having a low ratio and a high ratio, but it will do that. So then export audio test5.bmp, and now I've got that there, which if you do it now can kind of be used for like a VHS-esque effect. So again, I'll just keep editing this and get back to it when I am satisfied with the results. Alright, so now I've got something I like. I will again rotate it so that it is the right way around. Whoops, it's got misaligned. Hang on. This sometimes happens if you just drag it and drop it into here, it will misalign it for some reason. I don't know, it's not part of the glitching process, it's just something that happens. But anyway, once you've got it done, just export it as like final or whatever you want to call it. Just actually no, don't save it as a bitmap, save it as any other sort of file, because bitmaps tend to take up a lot more space. You can bring the quality down if you want, that'll give it a bit more of an effect. So anyway, export it, and now you have, oops, now you have a glitched image. So yeah, that's it.